Okay, so get this right. Intermittent fasting, it's everywhere you look these days.
It's definitely having a moment.
But we're not here for the hype, are we?
Not at all.
We want the nitty-gritty. How does IF really affect your metabolism?
Yeah.
That's the deep dive we're doing today, and I gotta say, after poring over this stuff from Healthline and Johns Hopkins Medicine, color me intrigued.
As you should be. It's powerful stuff.
Right. Like, forget just dropping a few pounds. What if we could actually rewire our metabolisms to torch through fat?
It's not just wishful thinking. There's real science behind it.
Okay, so hit me with it. First big question I had going in, does IAP actually rev up your metabolism, or is that a load of you-know-what?
So it's tricky. It's
Yeah.
not quite as simple as a yes or no. What we do know is that short-term fasting, think a day or two max, not weeks on end,
Right. But
that seems to actually cause a temporary boost in metabolism.
so real. Like, how much of a boost are we talking?
Healthline cited a study where just 3 days of fasting led to a 14% increase in metabolic rate. That's significant.
No kidding. What's going on in our bodies to make that happen? Spill the tea.
Hormones, my friend. When you fast, your body starts pumping out something called norepinephrine. You might know it as the fight or flight hormone.
Ah, so that's why you get that burst of energy sometimes when you're fasting. I thought it was just me.
Nope, not just you. Norepinephrine is the culprit, or the hero, depending on how you look at it, because it not only gives you that energy, it also tells your body to start breaking down stored fat for fuel.
Hence, the metabolic magic.
Precisely. But, and there's always a but, isn't there?
Haha, right. What about starvation mode? Isn't that the flip side? Like, if we're consistently eating less, doesn't our metabolism eventually just go, nope, gotta conserve energy?
Mm.
The Johns Hopkins article had that study about the biggest loser contestants, and that was kind of alarming.
Yeah, and that's a great example of why understanding the difference between short-term fasting and long-term calorie restriction is key. Starvation mode is a real thing, but it usually kicks in with prolonged severe calorie deficits, not with properly implemented intermittent fasting.
So those contestants' bodies basically got stuck in a metabolic rut, even after they regained the weight.
It seems that way, yeah. And that's where the sustainability of IF comes in. You're strategically cycling between eating and fasting, which may help you avoid that drastic metabolic slowdown. Plus, it influences key hormones like insulin, for example.
Insulin, that's the one that's telling our bodies to hang on to fat, right?
Essentially, yes.
Yeah.
And both calorie restriction and intermittent fasting can lower insulin levels, which can be beneficial. But here's where it gets interesting. There's some emerging research that suggests IF might have a leg up when it comes to preserving muscle mass.
Okay, hold on, muscle. Why is that so important when we're talking about IF and metabolism?
Think of it this way. Muscle is a calorie-burning machine.
Ah, okay.
The more muscle you have, the higher your resting metabolic rate. You're burning more calories even when you're just vegging out.
So if an IF can help us keep that muscle while we're losing weight, that's huge, right?
It's huge.
Because sometimes with traditional dieting, you lose muscle and fat, and that just seems counterproductive.
You're fighting a losing battle. And this is where things get really interesting with IF, because there's a fascinating hormonal connection. Remember we talked about human growth hormone, HGH?
Oh, yeah, the muscle-building one.
Yeah.
Especially for men, it seems like from the studies. Does IF actually increase that?
It does. Studies have shown that intermittent fasting can significantly increase HGH levels.
Wow.
Which could play a role in muscle preservation during weight loss. Now, more research is needed to fully confirm that link, but it's promising.
So it's like all these pieces, the hormones, the metabolism, the muscle, they're all connected. But the Johns Hopkins article mentioned some pretty important caveats, like who should not even try IF?
Absolutely. Safety first, always. IF is not for everyone. Pregnant or breastfeeding women should steer clear.
Right. Makes sense.
Individuals with type 1 diabetes, definitely not. And anyone with a history of eating disorders. Really, it's crucial if you have any underlying health conditions, talk to your doctor before making major dietary changes.
It's not a one-size-fits-all kind of thing. And even if you are healthy and you're thinking about giving IF a go, it's not a free pass to just eat whatever you want during those eating windows, right?
And a chance. Listen, intermittent fasting, it can be powerful, but it's not magic. You still need to focus on nutritious foods during your eating windows. Fruits, vegetables, lean proteins, healthy fats, you know the drill.
The good stuff.
Exactly.
So balance is still key. Speaking of which, how does someone actually start incorporating IF? Because there are so many different methods out there. 168, 5.2, alternate day fasting. It can feel overwhelming.
I can see how it would be. It can be a lot. One of the most popular methods, and it's probably the easiest to get started with, is the 168 approach.
Okay, tell me more.
You fast for 16 hours each day, and then you have an 8-hour window to eat.
So like finishing dinner by 8 p.m. and then not eating again until noon the next day.
That's it.
Okay.
Some people find that really manageable. Others prefer the 5.2 method. They eat normally for 5 days a week, and then they restrict their calories to 500 or 600 on 2 non-consecutive days. The bottom line is you have to find what works best for you.
It's like you wouldn't, start training for a marathon by just running a marathon on day one.
Right. That's a recipe for disaster.
You got to work your way up to it.
Exactly. And the same goes for IF. The Johns Hopkins article mentioned that it can take a good few weeks for your body to actually adapt to a new eating pattern like this.
Makes sense.
So you might feel some hunger pangs in the beginning, a little irritable, maybe.
Sure.
But usually those side effects, they fade away as your body kind of gets with the program.
It's like anything worth doing, right? You got to put in a little effort, be patient, and then bam, you start seeing those long-term benefits. And with IF, it sounds like we're not just talking about fitting into those skinny jeans.
Not even close. There's so much more to it than that. Some research suggests that IF might actually have a positive impact on heart health,
Wow.
brain function even,
Really?
and maybe even cellular repair processes, although that's still early stages.
Oh, that's wild.
It's exciting stuff.
It really changes how you think about food,
Mm.
It's not just fuel. It's like this signal that's affecting our bodies in all these crazy ways.
It's a whole different way of looking at things.
We're always so focused on what we eat, but maybe when we eat is just as important.
Maybe even more so.
It's like discovering a secret code inside our own biology or something. This has been fascinating, a real eye-opener on intermittent fasting and its impact on our metabolism.
It's been a pleasure diving into this with you.
So much more to it than I ever realized.
And remember, the more we understand about how these amazing bodies of ours work, the better equipped we are to, make choices that support our health and well-being.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Until next time, keep exploring, keep those questions coming, and keep diving deep into all the amazing things that science is uncovering about ourselves.